because we just developed a comprehensive park and trail plan last year, and our board approved it in August. And one of the priorities for the short term was to establish a park and trail advisory committee. So that's where we are. We've drafted the bylaws, and we've advertised for the applications, and applications are coming in now. And the last board meeting in January, we'll be going over the applications with the board so that we can recommend appointments in January. So I'm just really interested to hear how it's going with everybody else. And I have to say that I am really impressed with the applications that have been coming in and the skill set that these people have, and their desire to serve and be part of fostering natural resource stewardship on public lands is pretty cool. So, and I'll just leave it open, and whoever wants to go next can go next and talk about what they've got going on.
Are there any specific questions people have? Get started. Otherwise, I can kind of just start with like Stearns County, how we're organized and what we have. And all right, here, no questions. So the Stearns County Parks Commission has actually been around since before the Parks Department was part of the county. So back in 1970 is when it was first established, and it was established as a citizen board back then for parks and trails throughout the county. It wasn't until 1974 is when the Stearns County Parks Department was actually established. And then, so next year we're looking at our 50-year anniversary. So we got to figure out what we're going to do. So our board is made up of 5 appointed park commissioners, each from their county board members' district. So each county board member gets to appoint a member from their district. Then we have 1 member from our planning commission, 1 member from just like an at-large, and then a non-voting liaison from the county board. So we have that total of 8 members that attend our park commission meetings each month. We meet the second Wednesday at 6 p.m. Usually there's plenty of things to talk about, what we got going on in our park system and things, but they are an advisory board. So they don't make final decisions, but they take, so a lot of times we're bringing potential park properties, potential projects, ratings, like 5-year project plans, things like that for them to review, provide input on before we're taking things to the county board for final approval. They do look at our budget and make a recommendation. We have bylaws that are laid out. If anybody wants a copy of them, let me know. I can certainly send those out. Our park commissioners do receive a per diem, $50 per meeting, and they also get paid mileage to attend the meetings. On occasion, I would say maybe 2 to 3 times a year, we will have a special meeting where if there's a potential park property that we want to tour and go look at, we will call a special meeting to go out and look at those on some of the bigger issue type things. But otherwise, we're pretty much 12 meetings a year and reviewing, and it's that advisory board capacity is where they're at. So I don't know if there's questions, things that I missed.
I have a question about the planning commission member. I hadn't thought of that. And I'm wondering, can you talk about the perspective that they bring to the group? And then I'm wondering if any other people's park committees have someone from the planning commission as well.
So I find it helpful. So actually, before the park commission, it was actually the planning commission that was tasked with the park stuff initially. So then I think it's kind of just transition that there's always been somebody from the planning commission on the parks board. But I do find it helpful in that if there are certain activities that are occurring close to a park or close to a trail, in which there is that, we do get that input and that kind of that feedback or kind of insight, I guess, per se. or if they know of property, because they're out and about all the time on issues. We also have a parkland dedication ordinance that is directly tied back to certain residential plats and stuff that occur throughout the county. So it's nice to have that input and knowledge too coming from that side. Is it a necessity? I would say no, but it's helpful. It kind of creates some more of that continuity and some more of that collaboration, I feel, across the departments. Do we go? I mean, very rarely will I ever go to a planning commission meeting over a park issue, but it happens occasionally.
And then just a follow-up question, do you have any of your park staff or other department staff attend?
Not
the
a planning.
commission meeting? Okay,
The park commission or planning commission?
the park commission.
So our park commission, yes. So we do have Julie, who is our administrative assistant. She attends and takes meeting minutes because they are public meetings. So they have to be, documented as such. So she takes the meetings, and then our, excuse me, our operations coordinator also attends the meetings. On occasion, depending, and it doesn't happen very often, but I'll have our maintenance coordinator attend if there's big or significant. But like I said, that's pretty rare.
Thanks.
So I would jump into and kind of walk through just a little bit like what Ben did and also answer some of Gina's questions from our perspective. We have a 9-person commission. It used to be that they were elected or appointed from each of the districts. But I think it was 4 years ago, we went away with that, and all of our members now are just at large. With one of the commission members being a county board member. So we always have a representation of the county board. And we meet once a month. And we're just more policy driven group. Anything that's kind of happening policy wise in the county, we try and not get them too terribly deep into the weeds on like the staff decision making type processes, but more at a high level decision making recommendations. They are recommending board, not policy and implementing board. We do not have members of the planning department there. However, I would say at least twice a year, we invite someone from the planning department to come and sit and kind of present on what's going on, or especially if we have some topics that deal a lot with land use or open space planning, trail planning, and things like that. We will pull them in for those conversations along with other departments of the county that we may pull in for different conversations that we're having. And let's see, what was we have staff present at ours too. We have an administrative person like Ben to take notes and how can help us out on the note-taking side of things. And then we actually have staff from our 2 bigger parks, Oxbow Park and Chester Woods, to do staff reports. It also helps the park commission get to know who the park staff are, which I think is important. If they're going to stop out, they have some friendly faces that they know. And it's not just me talking all the time, because I hate when I'm like a broken record through these meetings and I'm the only one talking. I like to break that up and let somebody else talk for a while. So if we have a topic that is of specific interest to somebody else in our department, that it's a project that they're working on, I'll pull them in to talk about it instead of me talking about it. So it's good for them to get in front of the commission anyway. And we also have representatives from our 2 friends groups that come and give monthly reports as well, so that they can keep a pulse on what our friends groups are doing in the parks too. So our park commission started in 1966, so it's been around for a while. And I think one of the things I appreciate the most about the park commission is they're kind of a way to get public input without having to do big, huge public input sessions. Which I think is kind of nice. There's definitely a time and the place for those big public engagement things, but we get a very knowledgeable, diverse group of people in the park commission. When you say you've had a lot of people apply and you're really looking at their backgrounds and excited to see that, it's really nice to have that variety of backgrounds. And we've even had people that have worked in parks in other states, and they have different passions. So you do get a really well-rounded conversation around different topics in the parks. So sometimes it can get very intense, which is great. But for the most part, you just get some really good perspectives from different people to make a well-rounded decision. So that's kind of the one reason I really appreciate park commissions. Sometimes it can seem a little monotonous and trying to come up with topics and trying to keep them out of the weeds and all that good stuff. But overall, I think they're definitely a good benefit to the parks department. So that's what I got.
That's great. That's helpful. Laird has to step out at 11:30. So I just, being he was the parks director for Chisago for I don't know how many years, doesn't matter. You're very experienced, right? If you want to just share your perspective with us before you have to hop off, that'd be just super.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I recognize a couple of folks, Joe and Ben from back when I worked with Chisago County, but I still work with our Parks and Trails Foundation, which is like a friends group that supports parks and trails and encourages the development of different facilities and amenities in the county here yet. And they recently submitted an application for regional designation for our Fish Lake County Park, which I'll maybe touch base with Joe on sometime in private, but our foundation board. Our foundation board has been working within the county for over 20 years and has supported fundraising for
Hey,
the
Dennis,
trails.
can you mute? Sorry, thank you.
Yep. But anyway, our park board is quite similar setup to Stearns County. Ben had reviewed that, and the same thing in Chisago County with each of the commissioner districts being represented. And then having a commissioner on the park board. I don't work with the park board anymore, but visit them occasionally, and would like to get more information on the regional park designation for our Fish Lake Park, which I did surveys when I was there and found that 7 out of 10 visitors on weekends were from the metro counties. And during the week, 50% of the users were from other counties other than Chisago County. It also fits the criteria for in size and nature, I believe, of what they're looking for regional designation. So I'd be interested in some further discussion on that for sure. Yeah, and that our Parks and Trails Foundation Board really tries to influence commissioners and park board members to continue on with projects that have been started in the past and make sure that they're completed according to the plans, so that's what we do. But look forward to future meetings. Hopefully as this Zoom will work out, I can join you a few times in the future, Gina.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess we'll pass it off to whoever wants to go next. Any questions about what's been talked about so far?
I could kind of go into what Renville County does.
That'd be great.
All right, Renville County has an appointed Parks and Trails member from each district, which is 5. We have 2 at-large members. We can have up to 2 youth at-large members, which is really tough to fill. I think I've had 1 kid in the last 5 years. It seems like sports and everything kind of gets in the way. Then our county commissioner, the chair, and the vice chair is always the backup if they can't make the meeting. The Parks Department used to be part of the EDA office. Since we've moved to Public Works, but we do have EDA join the meeting as well. They do a lot of marketing for us. All of our members do get a per diem. I think it's like $65 plus mileage. They are an advisory board, though the commissioners really do take their concerns and whatnot seriously. We meet quarterly. And yeah, I think that's about what I have. Any questions right off your head?
I'll have one. Jesse, great to hear they get paid. Does that just come out of the county general fund? Do they do that for all of their commissions and committees, or does that come out of your budget, or how does that work?
So I budget for it every year. So I do have an idea, and I try to plan all of our meetings accordingly. Like this year, I've had a couple meetings pop up where like an exec committee has met. But it doesn't come out to be a lot. So yeah, I do budget for that. One thing I did forget to mention is Renville County used to have a parks board and a trails board. There was two different boards, and they met the same night, separate times. And I think that was in the very early stages of us having park boards, and since they've combined them.
Was the establishment of those boards done while you were there, or is it they were okay?
No, I would say late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there.
Okay,
I've been with Renville County since 2015.
okay. Has anyone established a new group recently or during their career? Just curious. Okay.
I lost
I'll-
one.
I'll I'll go back to creating my wheel. No, I think I'm just trying to think about like the first year worth of meetings. I think it's going to be really easy to fill. My thought was to start with a high level overview of the recently adopted park and trail plan. And then send a copy home with each of them and give them access to the online version. And then the next meetings, I'd like to just do a deep dive into each of our parks. And if that park has a concept plan or a master plan, we'll talk about that. And if not, we can talk about, visions for that park. That's my thought, kind of to fill the first year, and maybe do one longer meeting where we do a field trip and we visit the facilities, because we only have 5 parks and a trail. So it's not like it could be an afternoon or something like that. So
Gina, I can interject a little bit. In Hutchinson, we had or we still currently have a bike and pedestrian advisory committee that has been created since I've been here. And that was back, oh gosh, I'm trying to think, probably like 2012, maybe. I think the group has been around for a little over 10 years. And initially we did have a lot of stuff going on. We were trying to apply for bike friendly community designation. We had a bunch of different trail projects that were happening throughout our community. Just expansion of trail systems and whatnot. The paving of the loose line was another big project that had happened from heading east into the Winstead area. So at that point we did meet monthly. And then after we had checked a bunch of things off, then we decided like, hey, just to be cognizant of everybody's time, we then went down to having quarterly meetings, and that is what we still currently do. We meet 4 times a year. And I feel like with what we've got going on, I mean, there's always stuff happening, but we feel like just meeting quarterly gets everything accomplished of what we need to do. And if something happens in the interim, obviously email communication works well too. So
I appreciate that. That
Yeah.
reaffirms our forethought and creating the bylaws and specifying meeting at least quarterly, up to 12 times a year. So that's kind of my thought. Is the first year we're going to meet frequently to kind of meld as a group and get to know each other. And then we can go to less frequent meetings if need be, unless unless there's just, we feel a need to continue meeting frequently, so.
So one of the things that we do with our park commission is we do have a per diem. We meet centrally in my office on a monthly basis. But what we tend to do in the summer months is go out and have our meetings at all of our parks. And that park tends to have some focus to it because it's got a project going on or whatever else. So, and then we pay mileage if it's out to those satellite locations like that. So that would be a good suggestion for them to get to know your parks when you're talking about them, to be in the park and to walk them around and actually be in the space that you're talking about is very helpful for them, because even though they're on the commission, they may not necessarily get out to the parks, especially some of the smaller ones, very often to really know what you're talking about. So it makes it a little easier there.
That's
and I
a
was just
great
gonna
idea. Go ahead.
build off
sorry.
of what Carlin was saying is that, yeah, if you can find members that want to be engaged, get them engaged as much as possible, because they are the representative that, you know, they're bringing in the perspective from the district or community that they live in. So, you know, it's important. And a lot of them are just showing up. A lot of mine show up to the meetings and are making decisions and aren't park users, which drive me bonkers. But so if you can find people that are interested and are park users and that's a huge bonus. So
Mhm.
vet and recruit the best you can. And then I'll just add on, so we budget between about $6,000 and $7,000 a year for our park commission. So
That's
Yeah, I think
helpful. Yeah.
on a yearly basis, I think I just reiterate, we start the season off with, do we want the meetings at the same time? Do we want the same frequency? I tend to suggest the quarterly meetings every once in a while. And I always get shot down. They're like, no, we've got so much going on and so much we want to talk about. We want monthly meetings. And so, yeah, I end up still having monthly meetings instead of quarterly.
We included a question on our application about preferred meeting time, morning, afternoon, or evening. And I'm surprised at how many people selected morning or afternoon. And I'm so glad I included that, because if we can avoid a night meeting, I'm like, oh, super. Even if it's late afternoon and goes into the evening, it's fine, but 7 o'clock, not my cup of tea.
We just had our park commission meeting last night. They start at 5:30 and tend to go till 7:30. So yeah, it does get to be a long day, late night.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a park director as well, and for a city municipality, and all of our city council meetings, planning commissions, park and rec commissions all started at 6 or 6:30, and they often would go till 9. I do not miss that at all. Most of my
Absolutely not.
board, given I run botanical gardens and an arboretum, we just tend to have a lot of retired board members, though we are a working board and no one is paid. I mean, Brian's out here, he's going to be grooming trails. And so we have a 7-person board of directors and only 3 people on our park and trails commission. It's hard to recruit people to the park and trails commission because I work them. So they're out on groomers, they're running chainsaw, we're harvesting oak. So it's a little bit more difficult for me to procure people that want to actually be on that board, because you have to go through chainsaw certification and things like that. But I do not miss working with the trying to work with various user groups. I appreciate that people were on my previous commissions that like utilizing parks, but the pickleballers and the equestrian people and the mountain bikers and the disc golfers and trying to make sure everyone's needs are met. I mean, I'm an entitled recreationist myself. I want all of my land for what I like to do. But I have, we all have to kind of understand that though I like hunting and fishing and disc golf and mountain biking and stuff, we have to make sure we accommodate all the different user groups. And we are experiencing that right now at the Arboretum. We have 1,200 members. We're a member-driven organization. a lot of people want to use our land in a lot of different ways because we're centrally located directly between Brainerd and Baxter. I don't know if you know about Brainerd and Baxter, but they are not necessarily best friends. So just trying to manage the city's expectations and then the member organization's expectations while trying to offer a lot of recreational opportunities. So I think maybe I'm leaning into lessening the Park and Trail Commission expectations from working so that maybe we can have more input from community members. But again, I don't want the 7 o'clock meetings anymore. So I'm towing that line right now.
That was, that leads me to kind of another question that I've been thinking about is right now we have no like formal volunteer group or friends group. Does anyone have like subcommittees for their advisory committee where maybe you have a group who explores establishing a friends group, or you have a subcommittee who kind of thinks about volunteer opportunities and events and provides support for organizing those and hosting them? Because for those of you who don't know me or Sherburne County very well, we have 2 staff right now, a director and a park maintenance technician, and we'll be bringing on Parks Natural Resource Coordinator in early 2024, which is a huge victory. So since 2019, we've tripled our staff. And it sounds impressive until you know that it's gotten up to 3. But so we have pretty limited capacity and we get most of our work done through contracts. But there are all these little projects that I could see as volunteer events if we have the capacity to host them. And I have this kind of idealistic image in my mind of our Park and Trail Committee like being all over that, just to have the support there to get a group out to, do, X, Y, and Z for 3 hours on a Saturday morning or something like that. So any input on that?
You can get people engaged, Gina. Let me know. It's tough. So like one comment that I'll just make is, so yeah, with our meetings being, at 6 o'clock in the evening, we do tend to be able to cater to at least having a couple younger people on the board. They don't have to be non-working or, things like that. So that I think is beneficial to having the evening meetings, as much as I don't like them myself. But it's, that's the other thing that we struggle with, is trying to create that diverse perspective in a variety of different ways and not limit, because the most interest we do get are from people who are retired, and some are park users, some aren't, which is fine. They don't have to be. But it's just, we're trying to get the perspective of what do the young families want to see, not just what does the retired generation want to see. So,
yep. Yeah, we have that same thing, obviously being a botanical garden arboretum, but last year we had 200 individuals volunteer 6,500 hours at the arboretum, partly due to the fact that I hired a volunteer coordinator, 20 hours a week. She also handles social media and engagement, so she's only 10 hours a week. It's not a huge hit to the budget, particularly for what we get out of it. I mean, when you're looking at paying somebody, I don't know what, I think she works 20 hours a week, mostly from home, and I don't know, 20-30 grand a year. We got 6,500 hours of labor, and not always labor. Sometimes it's plant sales. A lot of what we do is with the University of Minnesota Master Gardeners Program and the Master Naturalist. They have an hourly requirement to maintain their certification. If you're not working with those groups, I highly suggest getting into contact with the Master Gardeners and the Master Naturalists, because they are workhorses. So it does take a little bit of corralling to get them all in one space and focus on one mission and one goal. but those have been great. Also, the kids from the schools come out, and some of the group homes come out and drag brush for us, and some stuff like that. So you might be able to find some of those groups in your area as well.
Yeah, that's helpful. And yes, the master naturalists, the master gardeners have been a saving grace for me. And in my position as a forest health specialist at the conservation district before coming to the county, I worked with a citizen pruner group through a U of M extension program. And that was the funnest time because we'd meet for 2 hours at a specific public site that needed small tree structural pruning. We just did simple things like removed crossing branches, thinned, did branch reduction, all things to help grow a better formed tree, into the future that you can really only do when the tree is young-ish and you can reach everything with 2 feet on the ground. And that group is still going without me. But I mean, I found that to be such gratifying work, and I don't have like time to do that kind of thing anymore, but I can see that being something we could employ in our parks, not necessarily for pruning, but just a stewardship volunteer group where maybe they work 2 hours a month or 3 hours a month, and they just all pick a time and a day and they come to a certain place for a certain objective and they get it done. So yeah, I love the idea of a part-time volunteer coordinator. That's quite brilliant. Well done.
Renville County has 2 parks that has horse camps, horse trails, multi-use trails is what they are. And as far as volunteers, we heavily depend on the 7 horse clubs that are within Renville and surrounding counties. They coordinate everything themselves. Sometimes they go out and take care of the trails and I don't even know it. Sometimes they reach out to me beforehand, say, hey, would a Saturday work for you? Could you have the skid loaders, some chainsaws available, a little bit of manpower? So we've coordinated it both ways. They usually give me a list of all their hours at the end of the year, and we just recognize them at a county board meeting for what they do, as well as the Parks and Trails meeting.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Words of wisdom, questions?
I don't have any wisdom, but we're hopefully adopting our parks plan here in a couple of weeks. And in the plan, so we used to have a parks commission, and they met monthly, and for whatever reason stopped meeting and kind of just fell apart. But in our plan, it does recommend at some point in the near future starting or restarting that commission. So it's been good to just kind of hear kind of the makeup of what some of y'all have as far as the different district members, or if it's all at large, or who's also serving on there. I am already seeing, I mean, my department also oversees the fairgrounds, which was really big here, and we do have a separate fairgrounds commission for that. And in my previous work, I've just seen the benefit of having those commissions and those committees rather than going, directly to the county board or directly to the city council with some of this stuff, and getting, some of their help with doing some research for projects, or, getting some of their input before you take it to the board. So hopefully we get that going here after we get the plan adopted, but it's been good to hear some of the information.
Thanks for the feedback, John.
Tina, I think there might be an opportunity to kind of piggyback on your park commission applications coming in and starting the park commission to maybe also eventually get to a point where you start a friends group from those people or those applications, because they're obviously interested in the parks. So maybe it's a case of you were or were not selected for the park commission, but maybe you're interested in developing a friends group for the parks, or maybe your park commission works, and that's one of their first missions to work on is kind of hitting the community and starting a friends group. So maybe you can kind of play off of that as one of your first missions of your park commission to develop a friends group. We've got the 2 different friends group, and they are very, very different from each other. We've got the friends group at Oxbow Park who they do a lot of fundraising, a lot of events, a lot of outreach, publicity, that kind of thing with the park. So they're very heavily into doing events at the park and zoo, and generating funds to get back to that park. And then on the other side of the county with our Chester Woods Friends group, they are very, very natural resource oriented. And they put a lot more of their time into smaller events or natural resource based events and volunteering their time in the parks to do natural resource work. So totally different kinds of friends groups. So, you know, they can kind of go either direction, but with your guidance, they could coordinate a lot of these events and a lot of this volunteer work as the friends group versus yourself or a volunteer coordinator too. So just something I was thinking of while you were talking.
That's a great idea, and it led me to another idea because we have a specific committee for our new regional park that is focusing on decisions around parkland development, and it includes our tribal partners, as well as representation from the lake association that the park is on and the township that the park is within. And I think that could kind of evolve into a friends group specific to that park. And over time, years, maybe more than a decade, it could evolve into a county park friends group. But yeah, so that's a great idea. Right now, I don't have enough applicants to start both a committee and a friends group, but I'm just grateful that I almost have enough to have a committee right now. So I was a little worried that we weren't going to get any, and I don't think we've gotten a bad one. So, or, you know, they're all qualified, and they seem very enthusiastic, I guess is how I read their application. So
You plan to start the commission before you have a full board, and just start with what you have?
yeah, I think if we have one from each district, but no at-large members, I think we can start it. And the at-large members could come as, I think we can leave the application period open for at-large members. And one thing that's interesting about how we drafted our bylaws is that our at-large members we are not requiring that they be county residents. Because we work with so many stakeholder groups, especially tribal nations. And we're so close to the city of St. Cloud and the city of Princeton that, and those are border cities that don't they're not entirely within Sherburne County, but people may live so close to the boundary and still utilize a lot of the county facilities that there's some benefit in expanding the geographic footprint.
Quick question, Carlin. And I know this is a little off topic. Did you do the nature playscape for Oxbow?
Yeah.
Cool. Can we connect later?
Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
This is also off topic. We just installed a nature playscape at one of our parks as well. So I'm happy to share some photos or whatever. I visited Carlin's, and it's really cool. It's far different than ours because it's just a different topography, totally different part of the state. But yeah, a lot of great ideas.
Awesome. Thank you.
Maybe it's time for another natural playground forum. It's been a while, so maybe it's time for one of those. And I did kind of hear at the beginning of the meeting that another topic, although greater Minnesota Regional Park and Trails Commissions do their own sessions and things like that. Maybe we want to have a forum based around how to get regional designation and have Joe and Renee come back and kind of help talk and walk through that, just as a forum that we help put on for them to get the word out. I don't know, Joe, if that's something you'd be interested in helping us out with. Perfect. So maybe that's just something that we gonna put out there again as a landing point for people to ask questions outside of what the commission already does.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Okay. If there's no other questions or last words of wisdom, we can give you 7 minutes back of your day, but we still have 7 minutes. So if people have been thinking about asking a question, now's the time. Okay, crickets indicate it is time to close. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and happy holidays, happy winter.
Thank you. If you guys
See
can
Thank
next
you.
time.
shoot me an
Bye-bye.
email, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Gina.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was great. It was really fun.
Yeah. That was good conversations and stuff. So
Yeah.
if you need copies of bylaws to chew on and stuff, just let me know.
Thank
I've
you.
got friends groups and park commission bylaws that might help you get started. And so I don't know.
Yeah, with our park and trail plan, HKGI did research and collective research on what different counties have, like peer counties. And so I have a whole collection that I based our draft on that went to the county attorney, and she
Perfect.
changed a lot of it, you
Of
know,
course.
because
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know
think-
why I even tried. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, but so the friends groups, I would take that. But I'm ready to button up the committee. I'm like, oh, too many things, right?
Yeah, but you know, it's like I said, that park commission could be it could be their charge to try and start the friends groups.
Right.
Why not?
Right. Yeah.
They're
'cause
already passionate. Maybe one of them wants to be the head of the next friends group and they start recruiting.
Right. I feel like we really need a friends group for our new regional park because it's
Mm.
more acres than all of our other parks combined.
Mhm.
So, and all the natural resource work that is going to be happening and all of the amenities that are going to be going in, it'd be great
Yeah.
to get them more engaged in that project. Not that I want to forget about the other parks, but you know,
Yeah.
just
They could focus a little bit on the other parts every once in a while too, or help the events and stuff, but just be their main focus on the one.
yeah, I
So-
love the volunteer coordinator part-time position idea.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that would be nice.
phenomenal.
Yeah. So I know our friends of Chester Woods will help with events at our Root River Park, which is a smaller non-staffed park and things. So they
Mhm.
cross over and help with events at all the parks. So
Yeah.
that's an event coordinator would be great.
Yeah. Oh, that's my next
Volunteer.
position is actually my next hope is a naturalist and a program specialist or coordinator who can
Mhm.
and who would then do the volunteer events.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
may be able to get by with a part-time person for that, and maybe it could grow into a full-time position. But the problem is if someone takes a part-time position, often they don't want it to go to full-time. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't unless I needed the money. So, all right, well, have a super day.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll see you. We have a meeting next week or the week
Forgot
after.
to stop the recording.